Hi there, my name is Kaylie Raider, and I've had a few people ask me about the animation software I use, and it's a combination of Blender and Clip Studio. And since recent events have led people to wanting to find free open source alternatives, I figured I'd just give my take on making a tutorial of how to do 2D animation in Blender using the grease pencil. I know it's not a nice sounding name, it's probably why a lot of people didn't use it. It's a very unappealing sounding name for a tool, I'm gonna be honest. Admittedly, it doesn't feel quite as nice to draw into something like Clip Studio, but when it comes to the animation side of things, I'm just a lot faster in Grease Pencil than I am in Clip Studio. Now, I am gonna have chapters in this video, but I wouldn't recommend just skipping ahead because you might miss like a very important shortcut or key that I tell you that you need to press. There are these very important little nuggets of information that are kind of scattered all over that we just kind of run into organically as we try to work on this thing. So I highly recommend not skipping through the video because you might miss important shit. So without further ado, let's get into it. So you want to go to blender.org and just click on the first one. And you click here where it says download Blender. And then you click up here, and if you need a Mac version or something, I'm pretty sure you can find it in here somewhere. I actually haven't updated Blender since 4.1, so I'm going to check out 5.0 here. That also means all the settings will be fresh, so I won't be trying to use shortcuts that you don't have yet. In fact, we'll probably take a moment at some point to set up some really useful shortcuts. I'll show you how to do that. Installation is very simple. I don't really need to explain this to you. I'm assuming you've installed an piece of software before. So once it's done, just untick this and hit finish. Now, I don't usually have my cursor this big. I made it a bit bigger just so you guys wouldn't lose track of it in the tutorial. This might be a little bit too big. Hold on. All right, that's better. So I'm going to be assuming you've never ever used Blender before, and I will explain stuff, but for now, just don't press any buttons other than the ones I tell you to press. So we're going to go up here, we're going to click File, we're going to hit New, and we're going to hit 2D Animation. So once this is loaded, the first thing I want to do is to just give you a sense of the space you're actually in. So take your mouse and use the mouse wheel to just scroll out here, and you'll see the edge of the canvas / camera. The mouse wheel zooms in and out, and then if you hold shift and click in the middle mouse button, you'll be able to pan around like this. So you can kind of move in, pan here, pan there, zoom out. Now, if you hit the middle mouse button without holding the shift key, you're going to discover a little something, which is that, surprise, we're still in 3D space. We never left 3D space, but we're not going to worry about this at the moment. So for now, just go ahead and press the 0 key on your number pad to get back into the camera. If you don't have a numpad, you can just click this camera button over here and it'll do the same thing. You can also hold down the tilt key at the top left of the keyboard and then hit view camera. I don't know what this menu at the bottom is. I've never seen it before. It's new and scary to me, so we're just going to get rid of it. Whoop. If you want that back for whatever reason, you can just come down to this little button and click and drag up like that. A lot of getting good at Blender is understanding that where your mouse is very specifically does matter quite a lot. But yeah, once we got ourselves like this, so if we just start drawing here with our pen, you'll see we have this kind of soft partial opacity brush. There's a very sad looking tree, I'm sorry. So the way the pencil works is if you just continually hold the button down, you'll see it doesn't actually get any darker. In order for it to get darker, you have to then lift the pencil off and then start doing it again, and then you'll see it get darker. So basically, individual strokes will make it darker, but if you just hold continuously, it'll treat it as one layer of opacity sort of thing. On the top left up here, you pick your brush. For this video, we're only going to focus on pencil and then ink pen over here, which is just a kind of normal brush that is full opacity for line work and such. Up here is our material selector. I'll get to materials in just a second. We always want this to be on mode material. I've never used these two things for anything, so just leave it on this. You can change the size of the brush, like that. You can enable or disable pen pressure, and then you can do the same thing for the opacity of the brush. And you can enable, disable pen pressure for the opacity. And then here you're just setting your cap type to either round or square cap. Oh, square cap, there you go. Now up here where it says advanced stroke and cursor, the only thing I'm going to show you right now is this one that says post-processing, because this is important for performance. These two options will control how much smoothing is applied to your strokes. These two options are a bit different. These are more about how many vertices your strokes will have. Now, less simplification will result in more vertices. More subdivision will also result in more vertices. So let me just show you the difference of a stroke that's very detailed compared to a stroke that is simplified a bit. You can see how one of these is more detailed, but because it has so many more vertices, when you've got lots and lots and lots of these strokes all over your scene, you'll wind up with a laggy scene a lot quicker if you always use super detailed strokes than if you have the simplification on a little bit. That was the edit mode I was just in, by the way. I'm going to show you that later, don't worry. You don't have your edit mode privileges yet, so just wait. For now, we're just going to use these settings. Now, if you're on a smaller display and there's like a menu like this that isn't fully visible, you just have to scroll. Mouse scroll wheel will show you the rest of it. You can also resize your windows just by grabbing the edges like so. Don't grab the very corners though, because that does something different. I will explain that later. So now I'll show you how to erase all this crap. So you go over here and you click the eraser. And then at the top left here, make sure you've got eraser hard selected. We're just not going to worry about the other two right now. You've got your size change here, pressure on, off, opacity does not matter unless you're using the soft eraser. In the middle here, you've got your eraser type. Dissolve is this like kind of weird soft eraser thing, which I don't really use. Point is what we use most of the time. This is going to be specifically deleting the vector points themselves. And then stroke will delete entire strokes just by touching them like this. There we are, we got a nice clean canvas. Now I'm going to explain the paint bucket and how materials work. So I'm just going to draw a couple examples of a thing so you can kind of see how this will look with different pen types. I'm actually going to just turn smoothing off. It is quite drastic. Boom, boom. Now over on the right hand side you've got a huge enormous menu of things. If your hierarchy box is a bit bigger, you might not be able to see the menu, so you can just scroll. And we want to click on the material tab. We'll make this bigger. So essentially every time you need a new color, you also need a new material. So to start putting some color in these apples, we're going to come over here. So we can start off by just deleting these. So just hit the minus button, minus button, minus button. We'll hit the plus button to create a new material slot, and then we'll come down here and create a new material in that slot. And basically every material has both a stroke quality and a fill quality. If you leave the fill off, then you wind up with something that is just line work basically. So if we activate the fill and we set this to a lighter color, you'll see how you can actually kind of do both at once. You can do stroke and fill like this sort of thing. If you feel like doing that just at the same time, you can come over here and turn the stroke off, and then you've just got a fill without the stroke on it. And essentially you can like manually draw these fill shapes, but yeah, you need to keep the shapes you draw with the fill pretty simple or else weird shit will happen like this. The fill does not operate the same as the line work. So you see, if I try and do something kind of complicated, it's going, oh, wait, hold on. What side of this do you want me to fill? What do you want, the left side or the right side fill? The left side. And so it doesn't really know what to do because I'm trying to do it all in one go. So when you're doing these fill shapes manually, you want to keep them kind of simple. For now, I'm just going to come up here. I'm actually going to hide the material, and then every single thing drawn with this material just disappears. We're going to make a new material, and we're just going to make the red of our apple. So we're going to come down here, disable stroke, and we're just going to do fill. Make this a nice red color. Then we come over to the left with the paint bucket. And if I just do this, you'll see when I try to fill, it does actually overlap the line work a bit, which we don't really want. So to fix that, we're going to drag this up and we're going to click on our fill layer down here. And now that this is orange, it means we're on the fill layer. So now we're filling underneath the line work. You see that? You can actually see it underneath. Also, if you're used to like Flash or something where you don't really have separate layers for the fill and the line work, I'll show you what you can do. I'm just going to click on the line work layer and come up here and make a circle. What you can actually do is grab your fill, and if you don't want that to happen, up in this top menu here at the very top right, there's an option called draw strokes on back. And what that will do is it will put any strokes you do or any fills you make behind what is already there. So that is another option if you're used to a single layer workflow. So we'll go ahead and we'll call this apple, and then we'll go ahead and make another material, call it leaf, set the type to fill, get rid of the stroke, and then make this green, and then we can go ahead and boom, boom. So I might want to add a highlight to this apple, so I'll come up here, I'll make a new material. I'm actually going to leave it as a stroke this time, set the color to white, select our brush, and now we can just, there you go. All of these fills, by the way, actually have alpha channels, so if I didn't want this highlight to be quite so strong, I can click on the color and just lower the alpha, and we can make it kind of softer. And then the cool thing about materials is we can just change these. Like we can change the color to whatever we want at any time, and it just changes it across everything. So we might have a yellow apple with a blue leaf. Why not? Now, something that catches people off guard. I'm going to come back to the line work layer, and we're going to draw a donut. And let's just say you want to fill this donut in. So we'll click on fills, get our fill, paint bucket, and then boom. And you'll notice that the bit in the middle gets filled as well. Now, if you came over to the eraser and tried to erase this, you would find there's no vertices in here for you to erase. So this won't work. So to fix this, we have to create what's called a holdout material. So click new, come down, fill, and then this bit here where it says holdout. Now we can get our paint bucket and go boop, and look at that. Our donut is a donut again. So basically what a holdout material is just a material that acts as a eraser to everything underneath it. The holdout will only affect things underneath it. So if we create a specific layer called holdout, add that here, and it's in the middle here, we can, if I just make some big holdout shape like this, you can see it's erasing the fills layer because it's underneath it, but it's not erasing the line layer because it's on top of it. If we move it above the line layer, then it erases that too. No, it doesn't. Why didn't that work? Okay, it turns out for whatever reason it does, but you have to make it disappear and reappear again for it to apply properly. That's a bit weird. But yeah, that's basically how the paint bucket and materials work. Now, just a quick note with fills. I've just changed the colors here to make this easier to demonstrate. You probably look at this and be like, oh yeah, that should definitely feel okay. That's a nice solid loop. But then if you try and do it, it's like, oh, this is not filling. Why is this not filling? It's totally connected. Well, it's not. This is where the actual vertices that, the math it's using to do all this, they're not actually connected. So it's not able to fill this thing. So just something to keep in mind. Also, another weird thing to keep in mind is sometimes if you're too far zoomed in, it won't fill in. But if you zoom out and now it registers the lines as closer together, then it lets you fill it. I will be honest, sometimes with Blender, it just won't fill sometimes. So sometimes you have to come in and be like, all right, well, I'll do this manually, and then you can fill it like this, and then you can, don't know why that's like that. I'm gonna be honest, I was gonna go into more shit with the fills, but I feel like it's behaving sort of oddly in this version compared to how it used to, so I'm just gonna kind of leave it there for now. Hey, it's Kaylee from the future here. I just forgot to show you how to do clipping masks, so I'm gonna show you how to do that real quick. Let's say we want to do like some cell shading shadows on this object. What we'll do is come down here and add a new layer. We'll call it shadow. Add it, and we'll put it underneath the line layer but above the fill layer. Then come over to the right here, and in this menu, this little green thing that says data, click on that and you'll see the layers. With our shadow layer selected, open masks and then click it, then hit the plus and select our fills layer. And this is now masked to the fills layer. So if I come in here, if I were to say make a new material, give it a fill and make it like a purpley color, now I can just come in here and draw in this shadow. I want it to be on that side like that. And you can see it's clipped to the fills layer, plus we can actually change the blend mode of this now to be like multiply. Then we can change the opacity, and then yeah, there's your clipping mask. Real quick, I'll just show you, you've got shapes over here, so you can do a box, you can move that around, you can resize it, then when you press enter, it locks it in. Also, any button that has this little like arrow at the bottom right, if you click and hold, you'll get a whole bunch of other options. So, we can do circles. I think if you hold shift, it does the thing where it makes it uniform. You've got your polyline, which is, la-da-da-da-da. So yeah, so you can play around with all that if you want. Also, I'm just going to delete this real quick, and I'll show you the cutter tool, which is kind of useful when it works. So basically, if you do a stroke, like say you have some hair that you want to do, and you're like, oh, okay, got our character's hair. He's like, hey guys, oh yeah. So you can be like, come in with the cutter tool here, and do this, and that, and this, and that, and this, and like that, and that, and that, and that. You see what I'm doing there? So basically, if you just kind of do this, like try to do like a straight line, it doesn't really work. You kind of have to do like it's like a weird, like a kind of looping motion. You have to kind of do like a circular motion to get it to work, and sometimes this doesn't really work, but sometimes it does, so that's cool. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how to use edit mode. I drew a little picture of myself here that we can mess around with. Real quick, I just want to show you some more applicable examples of this cutter thing, the trim tool, because I can just come in here, right, and I can just go like boom, boom, boom. If it doesn't work, usually just kind of try it a few times and eventually it does. I'm going to keep my eyebrow, click there, slice, 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 and then dice. This is pretty good. Like that. Like that. You don't have to go in and like manually erase everything until it's right up to the line. It just works, except when it doesn't. But right now it is, so that's good. So to swap between draw mode and edit mode, we use the tab button. Now I'm going to tell you some very important shortcuts right now. These are fairly universal across a lot of different areas of Blender, so remember these. The S button lets you scale things up and down. The R button lets you rotate things, and then the G button lets you move things around. Right now you can see there's some stuff selected. To unselect everything, you just double tap the A button. To select everything, you just press the A button. One important thing to note is in here in stroke, this scale thickness thing will change whether or not the strokes scale with your thickness or not. So you can see if I have that off and I make it big, the lines get very, very thin. Whereas if we have that on, and now we do the same thing again, you'll see the lines stay the same width. Now over here on the left, you can change your selection type between box, circle, and lasso. I usually use lasso. So now with this selected, I can click and hold and drag and come in and do this. So there's a bunch of weird shit up here that I want to delete. So I'm going to come in with my lasso, select it all, and with it selected, you can either press the delete key or the X key and it will bring up this same menu. And you just click again to delete. Holding the shift button allows you to come in and select multiple parts of things, and then holding the control button allows you to unselect parts you've already selected. Okay, so for whatever reason, the wireframe of the grease pencil lines in this new version is black. It did not used to be, and so now we cannot see it on black line work, which is the most common color of line work. So we'll go ahead and fix that real quick. Go to Preferences, go to Themes, click on 3D Viewport, and then come down here to Wire Edit, and just set that to like a kind of middling gray color. I'm probably going to do the same thing also with the grease pencil vertex. Make those a bit more visible. You can just close that. And now, so now you can see the wires are actually visible in our black line work, and also the vertices of the line work are also visible. So what you can do is you can come in and you can actually kind of manually fix lines. Like I can select this vertice and then press G and move this over. I can select this bit and drag it over here to this point, and then I can actually press S and scale it down to form a nicer point, like that. And I can do the same thing here. I can grab this, kind of push that in there a bit more, push that like that, do it like that, like so. And if I want to make a new vertice, this works exactly the same as it does in the normal 3D mode. I can press the E button and it will extrude a new line off of that vertice. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these three for now, and we'll just keep this one and go like that. And then we'll press Tab to go back into draw mode. And okay, so this is something that can happen here. Okay, so if Tab doesn't take you back to draw mode, but takes you back to object mode, just make sure you've got the thing selected, the grease pencil object selected, and come up here and then click on object mode and set it to draw mode. Now grab our trim and boop, boop, boop. That looks a bit weird because one is pointy and one is sharp. We can fix that. If we just doobity-doo, doobity-doo, there you go. Oh, look at that, there's a pen tool. Now that wasn't there in the last version. So you can be like that, I suppose. What the fuck? What in God's green, what? Okay, I don't know. I don't know what the pen tool is doing. That's weird. It's weird and strange and I don't like it, so we're deleting it forever. So radius will allow you to control the thickness of a line. So I could come in here and click on this point and just do this to make it bigger. You can select multiple points, make them bigger all at the same time. Here's another tip. If you just want to select a single line, you just press the L button. You should just press the L button. Oh. Okay, if you click on it and press the L button, it'll select all that line. You used to just be able to hover, press the L button anyway. Yeah, look, you see over here in the old version, I can just go L, 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 L. That's like a lot quicker than having to go like click. I have to click L and then click. No, I have to go click L and then shift click and then L. Why did they change that? That's stupid. But anyway, once you got your selection, when you got the radius tool, so then you can use the circle here and click and drag to make it either thicker or thinner. I'm gonna give it those, hey Tony, where's the gabagoo type eyebrows. We'll actually come down here and just select that, X, delete. So the other tool you have here is the bend tool, which will do things, I suppose, based on, oh God, it's weird. Oh my God, I made a Geigus. The shear one I do actually use sometimes, which is just a simple like this sort of thing. So like boop, 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 doop, and you can do it the other way as well. Vertical shear. Also, if you're feeling like your lines are not detailed enough and you want to give them some more vertices, what you can do is you can select them all and then hit stroke and then hit subdivide and smooth. And then you see that did actually change the shape of our lines quite a bit. We can fix that. The way we can fix that is when we do that option, when we do stroke, subdivide and smooth, there's this little window that comes up here. It might be like that and you have to click this little button here. And you can come down here and you see we've got the factor here of our smoothing. And so what we can do is we can just hit keep shape and then smooth it, and you'll see it keeps it a lot closer to the initial drawing than if we don't click keep shape. So we're nearly done with edit mode, but I will very quickly show you proportional editing because it's quite important. So up here in this menu, there is this little guy here, this little button. This is to enable proportional editing, and then what this is the fall off of the proportional editing. So now if we come and select a vertex and we go to move it with the G button, you'll see we get this radius of proportional effect. We can then use the scroll wheel to change exactly how much of the image we want to be proportionally affecting. And this applies to pretty much everything. So this applies to scale. We can do a proportional scale of one area. And if we don't want the strokes to change thickness, we just come into stroke, uncheck scale thickness, and now it'll just do that without affecting the stroke's thickness. And it also works with rotation. Finally, I'm going to show you Sculpt Mode because that's pretty cool. Essentially, this is kind of like your liquify tool, so you can come in, do this sort of thing. You can change the size and the strength, and you can also make it pen pressure enabled as well. A very useful thing you can do with this as well is if you go up here, you've got a selection mask. So if back in edit mode, I just select this stroke of the snout and I come to Sculpt Mode. Oh, by the way, that's just me hitting tab to go between sculpt mode and edit mode. Essentially, hitting tab will always go between edit mode and whatever your other most recently selected mode is, pretty much. But yeah, in sculpt mode here with the stroke mask selected, so I can come to edit mode and I can hit stroke select, and then I can just go and select all the strokes that I want to be affected by the sculpt. And this might come over here, just switch this box back to lasso, then hold shift, get the rest of the bits I need. And then when I go to sculpt mode, it'll only sculpt the bits that I've actually got selected. So everything else will be left unaffected. And if I want to turn that off, I just come up here and hit the selection mask off, and now it will start affecting everything again. Something to keep in mind also with the Control Z thing that I'm doing here, there is actually a buffer of a certain point where if you Control Z too many times, you will not be able to go back any further. You can make that bigger though, it costs more memory, but you can go Edit, Preferences, you can hit System, and you can go to Undo Steps, and you can make this limit bigger. So I'm going to give myself 100 undo steps instead of 32. I can't undo anymore. Hold on, I know what I did. I changed the undo buffer size so it reset it. So now I can't undo this anymore, so I'm stuck with a big fat round face like this. It's alright, we can just come in Sculpt, and we'll just go ahead and just fix that. Put it back the way it was. I don't remember how it was. God damn it. Fuck it to shit. That's okay, we don't need that drawing anymore anyway, because I'm about to show you how to actually do the animation part of this whole thing. So now we're going to finally talk about actually animating. Also, by the way, if you're wondering how I'm doing this, it's just the T button and the N button. T button makes the left side come in and out. The N button makes the right side come in and out. Alright, so I'm going to come down here and press N to move that to the right. This is our timeline. I'm sure you've seen one of these before. Now, sometimes this will happen where we won't be able to see our layers. We just have to come over here and once again select our object. Our layers will come back. Also make sure that this is set to grease pencil and not something else. So let's just come in here, we'll change our ink pen to pencil. I'm going to up the opacity a bit, and then we'll just go ahead. Just going to pretend I'm going to do some shading on this. Little ball here. And then we'll come down here, we'll drag along, and we'll go like this. Then we'll come down here, we'll drag along, and we'll go like this. Now, this is not me teaching you how to animate, by the way. I'm just doing an example to show you how it works in Blender. Then we'll come up again. Then what we can do, we can come down here and we can do Shift D. And that will give us a duplicate of that keyframe. We can just put it over here. And then if we Kind of go through this now, you see we've got this sort of thing going on. So the way this works in Blender is that the left arrow key and the right arrow key will go back and forth one frame, and then the up arrow key and the down arrow key will go between keyframes. So it'll jump to frames that you actually have drawings on. Now by default, down goes forward and up goes back. If you like it the other way, which I do, we'll go up and hit Edit, Preferences, and then we're going to come over to Key Map. We come over here, we click Name, and then we're going to scroll down till we see Frames. Just here, see Frames? Click on that. And you'll see over here, jump to keyframe, up arrow, open that, jump to keyframe, down arrow, open that. And you see how one of them is next keyframe and one of them has unchecked next keyframe. Just swap those around, like so. And now it goes the other way. Press the spacebar to start and stop the timeline, or you can use the widgets down here. Now this button right here, this is a very important little button. This is auto keying. What this will do is whenever you are on a blank frame that does not have a drawing there yet and you draw something, it will create a new drawing. So you can just kind of come through and every single time I do a little thing, it's going to create a new drawing. If I would like it to not do that, I can just come and untick that, and now everything I draw is going onto this frame because we're still technically on this frame. We just turn that back on and draw a stroke and you see it makes a new frame again. Now let's talk about onion skins real quick. Now I want to delete all those nonsense frames I just made, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and you see this little button here, this is the overlays. So I'm going to turn that off just to disable our onion skin for now. And then I'm going to go to every frame that has bullshit on it. This one's actually on the same frame, so we're going to go edit mode, highlight that, delete it. Even though it doesn't show highlighted because we've got overlays off, it is still highlighted, so you can still do stuff, you just can't see it because overlays are turned off. So actually, if we want to keep that on, we want to be able to see this, but we don't want to see the onion skin, we can just come over down here, turn off the onion skin, and you can do that for each specific layer. And we'll delete this. And then this one, we actually want to delete the frame, so instead of being up here and clicking delete, we're going to make sure our mouse is down here. We're going to click on this and then delete. And then we'll go through here. Delete this one, delete this one, delete this one, delete that one, delete that one, delete that one, and there we go. I'm now going to turn my onion skin back on and we're going to talk about onion skin settings for a bit. So come over to the right and click on this green button to see the grease pencil properties. You can scroll down to the onion skin section. I'm going to open custom colors and I'm going to set it to what I always have it set to, which is blue for before and red for after. And the reason I have it like this, the next frame incoming is warming up. It's warming up and then bam, we hit it and then we move on and now it's blue because it's cooling down as we're leaving it behind. Here you can change how many keyframes before and after you show with the onion skin. Usually we keep this set to keyframes, but you can set it to frames, in which case it's only showing onion skins of the frames directly before and after, of which there are none. Or the other useful one is selected, because you might have like a whole bunch of frames here in between that you've already got drawings on, and the only ones you want to see is the start and the end. When this is set to selected, we can come down here and just select, and then shift, select again. And we're only going to see onion skins for the frames that are selected. And when the fade is off, all the onion skin drawings will appear as the same opacity, regardless of how far they are from the cursor. Now I'll show you some more important timeline stuff. Now the reason we've got multiple dots here, even though we've only drawn on one layer, is because it's also showing us the kind of overall hierarchy of this layer being inside of this stroke, which is inside of this summary of everything. I believe you could actually have multiple grease pencil objects selected at the same time if you wanted to, and then they would all show up in the timeline at once. So just to demonstrate this, I'm going to go to object mode. I'm going to select our grease pencil object. If I can. Hello? I'm going to press A to select our grease pencil object. I'm going to duplicate it. And now if I select both of these with A, see how they've both got their own respective timelines. So you could have two characters on screen that are both separate grease pencil objects, but you can be modifying both of their timelines at the same time. I'm just going to delete that for now. I also must have had a cube in here at some point. I'll just delete that and delete that. I delete the camera as well. You see, I've accidentally cloned everything in the scene because I hit A to select all, so I duplicated every single thing in the scene. The reason I hit A is because I was trying to like just select the grease pencil with object mode. Like I'm trying to come in here and just select it, and it's not wanting to select for some reason. I can select it over here, Oh, if I go back to this old version of Blender, does that... No, I can select that with the mouse, just fine. Why can't I do that in the new version of Blender? Why can't I do that? Why is every single difference between 5.0 and 4.1 so far has been a net negative for me, so I'm probably not going to be using 5.0 in the future. I'm probably just going to go back to 4.1. But anyway, we'll select our stroke to get back into it. Also, be careful you're not moving the object around, because usually unless you're doing complicated scene stuff, you don't really want to worry about that. You just want to be in edit mode, and you want to be moving the strokes around, not the actual grease pencil object. Also, remember how I said R rotates? If you double tap R, you'll actually take it off its axis, and you'll be able to rotate it in three-dimensional space. You'll see we're actually doing that now. We're rotating it in 3D. If you do this at some point you don't realize, and your drawing is like actually now 3D when you didn't want it to be, what you can do is you can highlight this and go grease pencil, clean up, reproject strokes. And we'll just say front, and it won't look any different, but if we go like this, we'll see, oh, it has actually reprojected our rotated object into a flat object again. So yeah, just another useful little thing to know. And then the other two things we can do here, which is pressing G to move and pressing S to scale, that also applies down here to our keyframes. So we can select these and we can press G to move them, or we can press S to scale them. And if you want to be precise with it, you can actually type in a number instead of just doing this or moving manually. What you can do, if I want to move it 2 frames to the right, I'd press G and then I'd hit the 2 button and then hit enter. And then I can press G and then do -2 and move it back 2 frames. I can also do S and then type 0.5 to halve the distance between all the frames. And I can do S2 to double the distance between them. You can also copy paste keyframes, so I can do this and then Control C, come over here, Control V. But if you look, you'll notice it didn't copy our fill frames. The reason it didn't is because we only have the line layer selected. If we shift click and select our fills as well, and then we try that again, we'll delete this. And now we'll copy paste again. You see now it does include the fills. Also, make sure your cursor is down here in the timeline when you Control C and when you Control V, because if you have your cursor up here, it's going to be attempting to copy paste your drawings, not your keyframes. On that real quick, you can actually make a new frame. If I wanted to have a duplicate of this just here, I can select that, and then I can even select some of it if I don't want all of it. So I want just this bit for whatever reason. I can Control C, and then if I Control V now, because of where our cursor is and because we still have this on, it'll actually make a new frame there. But we'll delete that, and we'll delete that copy paste we did. Another thing you can do, oh, by the way, you can also press Shift D to duplicate a bit quicker sometimes. Let's just ignore our fill layer from the moment because we don't really have anything of value on there. And now if I wanted to come on top with a line work layer here to do the cleanup version, what I could do is I can select this, Control C, make a new layer, we'll call it line work. And now we're just still, okay, there is one really annoying thing Blender does that I wish it wouldn't. If you delete the last frame on a timeline, it deletes the entire layer. So I would prefer it not do that really, because this is just a useless ghost frame that is completely worthless to us. So we can select our roughs, Control C, and now as long as we have line work selected here, when we Control V, it's going to paste it into the layer we have selected. And now we're going to lower the opacity of our roughs layer, and we're going to lock it. And let's say you wanted to delete all of these drawings, but you wanted to keep the timing of where the frames are. What you would do is you would come up here and select this Multiframe button. Now select all the frames, and you'll see they all appear at once. And then you can go ahead and select them and then delete, and it will now delete all the drawings on those frames, but it keeps the frames. So now we have a low opacity roughs layer underneath that we can go on top of now. We could come over to our draw tool, select our ink pen, and then we could start being like, this is our final line work. Why is, hold on, that's actually wrong. Something's wrong. Something's very wrong. All right, I figured out what the problem there was, is that we had multi-frame on still, and we had all these selected, so when I drew once, it's drawn that line on every single frame we have selected. So just Control Z, Control C, turn that off, and now you could come in and start, doing your final line work. You'd probably spend a bit more time and care on it than this. But yeah, I'm actually going to just delete the line work layer, and just leave us with our roughs. I'm going to make this full opacity, and now I'm just going to retime this a bit so that it's actually ready for an export. So we only want one loop. We'll get rid of all the others. We have to unlock our layer so we can edit it again. Goodbye. I'm zooming in here, I'm going to select this, I'm going to drag it back to frame 0, and then I'm going to scale down like that. So I've decided I want this on 5, so I'm going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm then just going to highlight this and Shift D, duplicate a couple just so we have a bit of a longer clip to show here. So now that this is like this, what we need to do is change the end point of our timeline. We just come down here and we drag this over like that. You can also just click on it and then type in a value like that, hit enter. I want this to end 1 frame before we reach the start of the loop. And so now this is ready to actually export. So you want to come over here and you want to select this little printer looking thing. It's called output. We'll leave all these settings as is and we'll come down here. So here you can choose your image format. So I often go with PNG sequences, or if you want this to be a video, you can do this and then click on encoding here and you can change this. This is a MVK, I think, Matroska's MKV file. So you can change this to a MPEG-4 for an MP4 file. Oh, and if you want audio, you definitely want to come down here and select an encoder for that too. I haven't shown you how to import an audio track yet. I should probably do that. I'll do that in just a second. I will just show you how to render first. So you come up here, click render and render animation. That is going to do its thing. Once that is finished, to actually look at it, you can click render and then view animation, and it will show you, it's put it on my other monitor, but I'll just drag that down here so you can see. It'll show you whatever you last rendered. Now at the moment, that's not going anywhere because this is set to temp. So you can just click on the folder and then choose an actual proper place to save it. Also, very important for exporting PNG sequences with transparent backgrounds, it will not actually do that with a transparent background by default. What you have to do, click on this tab that says render and then scroll down to film, open that and then select transparent, and now it will render your PNGs with a transparent background. Okay, that's exporting out of the way. I will also show you, I mentioned these corner things before. So if you bring your cursor down to the very corner of a window, but not kind of on it, it can't be directly where the corner is. It has to be either barely in one window or barely in another. And the reason for that is if I click and drag and I move into the window that I'm already in, it will create a new window like this. And then we can set this to something else. We could set this to a completely different mode if we wanted to. If we click the corner of a window, but then we drag into another window, however, we will overlap that window and get rid of it. So I can do that again, click on this window, overlap into here, get rid of it. If I need to bring that window back, I can come down here, click, drag into this window to bring a new window into it. You can see this has just duplicated the current window though. So to get our proper window back that we want, our timeline, we select this. Then we have to select Dope Sheet. Then you select Dope Sheet and you change it to Grease Pencil. And now we have the window back that we had before. If for whatever reason you have just absolutely scuffed your Blender, you've just got all these windows that you've opened by accident that you didn't want, and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I get back to some semblance of normalcy here? So to fix this, what you don't do is come in and go File, Default, and Load Factory Settings, because this will also completely reset all of your preferences changes and any shortcuts that you've set. This is a bit odd, but just bear with me. So File and Save, make sure you save first. Now go File, New, 2D Animation. So now do File and Open, and then find your file, and then click on the file, but don't open it yet, and then come over here and press the N button, or you can just click this little arrow here to bring this out. And where it says Load UI, don't. And now open it, and you'll see it is, the background's just black because we have this set to material. Just set that back to solid. Yeah, you can see it's returned us to our file, but it's got normal looking UI now. I'm just going to very quickly show you another little thing that you can do with grease pencils, which is the Effects tab. So you click on the Effects tab here and then make sure up here the viewport display is set to rendered so that you'll actually be able to see these effects. So you got like a blur effect, which you can do like this sort of thing. You can do like a glow effect, which is not super useful on a white background. So I'll just quickly change the world background. Where is it? There it is, world, the color of the background. I'll make that all the way down. And now you can see we've got a glow going on. You can do like a drop shadow, which you can't really see because I just made the background black, but anyway. Oh, so by the way, that background we just changed in the world settings. This only affects the render. It does not affect how it looks in solid view. To change the workspace background, you come up, click this arrow, and where it says background, you hit custom, and then you can make this darker if you don't like working on a white background all the time. So the last thing I'm going to do is show you just a few quality of life and keyboard shortcut things that I do for myself. So I was going to show you how to add a flip the canvas button shortcut, but the add-on is not available for Blender 5.0 yet, so I can't do that. Meanwhile, I found out that holding Control while drawing actually swaps it to eraser by default, but I can't figure out how to make the eraser hard, because when you do normal eraser, you can come over here, make it a hard eraser, but then when you come back and do this and try and do Control, right, it's like its own its own settings when I do the shortcut version, and I don't know how to change those settings. I don't know why. It didn't used to be a problem in the older version of Blender. It's a problem now. Thanks, guys. I probably should have just done this fucking tutorial in 4.1, to be honest. Every single headache I've had with this tutorial has been because of 5.0. Oh, fuck, audio. Audio, I need to show you how to do audio. So to get audio into the scene, come up here to where this plus is at the top, click it and hit video editing. Video editing. Don't hit new, because that'll create a new scene. Instead, you just want to click this and then click the scene that you've already got. Now you can just drag an audio clip from outside Blender into Blender. I'll just play that. Hello, testing 1, 2. This is an audio clip. Goodbye. So we can take that to the start of our timeline. And then if you're doing lip sync, you probably want to come down here to where it says playback and enable audio scrubbing. So now if we come back to the animation tab and we hit play. Hello, testing 1, 2. This is an audio clip. Goodbye. So you can hear that now, and then also scrubbing works. This is an audio clip. Goodbye. So yeah, that about does it. That's pretty much everything you need to know to be able to use this program effectively. I really just tried to think of like every possible area that would cause headaches and just alleviate those by explaining to you what to do, so you don't have to go Googling a bunch of shit. Thank you for watching. Hope it was helpful. I'm not like a tutorial channel by any means. I just felt like doing this one specific video. I thought this would take me an afternoon. It took me 3 days. You're never getting another tutorial from me ever again. Okay, bye!